What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And LeVon Maynard.
Hey, welcome to the show.
All right. If you couldn't get the intro, I'm gonna say it a few more times because I said it real fast, so I will mess it up. Welcome to the podcast. Today is Monday. So Monday and Tuesday are our topics. Wednesday is our discussion. And then Friday, we do the weekly rundown where we talk about everything aside from cyber, right? Movies, books, TV shows, all that good stuff. So definitely continue to tune in throughout the week, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And without further ado, I'll give it to LeVon.
Yes, sir. Today we have an article from Bleeping Computer from Bill Tallis. This one's titled "Over 1,000 iOS Apps Found Exposing Hard-Coded AWS Credentials." Essentially, it looks like researchers at Symantec's threat hunting team, part of Broadcom Software, found 1,859 applications containing hard-coded AWS credentials, most of them being iOS apps and just 37 for Android. It says roughly 77% of those applications contain valid AWS access tokens that could be used for direct access to private cloud services. And it goes on to say, additionally, 874 applications contain valid AWS tokens that hackers can use for accessing cloud instances containing live service databases that hold millions of records. It actually highlighted some real world examples. I guess it had some notable cases. It says here one was like a B2B company provided internet and communication services to over 15,000 medium to large companies. And the SDK, which is software development kit, the company provided the clients to access its services contain AWS keys, exposing all private customer data stored on the platform. Another one was from a banking app, and this calls all the customers all authentication data from all customers of those banks, including name, date of birth, and even biometric digital fingerprint scans were exposed in the cloud. So obviously this is a big issue. It seems like it's affecting mostly Android. It has some, mostly iOS, excuse me. Android doesn't have these
So you're so used to saying it.
No, they don't have these kind of problems. It's kind of like, that was kind of foreign for me to even say that. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So this is an iOS issue, mostly. But we have a few Android users out there that are maybe affected. But yeah, so it seems like it's a big thing. I mean, this is the article describes how, the reason for this happening is that a lot of these like SDKs, they have kind of like pre-made components so that developers don't have to like make their components or make their application from scratch. So they ingest all these libraries and these other components from the SDKs to kind of build their apps. And a lot of these libraries already contain these credentials, these tokens. They kind of hard code, essentially like, I don't know, you want to say like username and passwords of these access to these services in AWS. So typically, if you have application, they say that the reason this happens is Symantec highlights the following possibilities, like you're downloading assets and resources that are required for the app, usually large media files, recordings, or images. You can access configuration files for the app and or register the app, device, and collecting device information and storing it in the cloud. Accessing cloud services that require authentication, such as translation services, and some dead code, stuff that's just kind of been sitting there that hasn't been removed. So stuff that's like, I guess if you're a software developer out there, just kind of take note, make sure that you can use tools to kind of scan these SDKs and these libraries to make sure they don't have hard-coded tokens and passwords, things like that, so that you kind of alleviate the risk to your user base. But it's kind of an interesting thing. It's like something I haven't heard this kind of issue in the news much at all. It's normally typically like, some sort of vulnerability that somebody's, embeds some code into your application and then gets access to your, to the stuff that you're trying to connect to legit, and then they can pull down data that way. But this is actually stuff that they're actually distributing. It's kind of like a what do they call it? Like a let's say like a software chain or like a
supply chain.
Yeah, supply chain attack. So you grab stuff that's actually legit you think it's safe, and it actually has a bunch of has some vulnerabilities or some risk tied to it. So you think you're safe, and then you get hung up with this. But I'll turn it over to you, Shannon. What you think about this one?
So I got a couple things on this. First, just for all of y'all to know, so we do get on Ryan about all this Apple stuff, but he is fair. So like, here's the thing, he's fair, right? So like, I'll put it out there because he decides the run of the show, and he puts it out there to say, okay, I'm gonna eat this crow today. You know what I mean? So good for him, y'all. Yeah, hey,
sweep it on the rug. Like what Apple News? What Apple News?
He's fair about it. But the other. Yeah, I know, because we'll jump on him, right, LeVon? Like,
right.
I say that as the Apple trader I am, right? Because I still have my Apple phone, but the other thing with this, it was a little disheartening, right? So like, I know sometimes you can go into some of these stores, and before you even download something, like you kind of look and see who's developing it, right? Like see. Kind of maybe research a company a little bit. Maybe it's just me. It could just be me, right? But like, I'll look at it and be like, okay, who is that? Who is that company? Look into it a little bit. But this is one of those things where it's like, these apps are coming up and coming out so fast. This is kind of very believable for me, right? Like, I know Apple's taking it on the chin this time, but LeVon, we got to be honest, right? Like, even though we like Android, right? Like, they've had their fair share of stuff that gets right? But like, people just not taking the due care, right? Like, they're so like, okay, we know we can get a jump on getting this application out there. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. And like, the security aspect of it is one of those, we've talked about this before, how it seems like it's more tacked on at the end instead of started from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to use these libraries and use these things to get everything started up fast, like, take care of the security aspect from the beginning. Like, take care of hardening is what you call it, right? To make sure these apps are not going to expose these things, especially when it comes to like fingerprints and everything. Because like, when you look at the technology nowadays, I mean, you look at what is being offered nowadays, like you can open up apps with just your Face ID, right? Your fingerprint scan, there's all these different things that are just out there getting exposed now, and it's bound to happen, right? But like, you don't want it to be this soon in the process. And when I say this soon in the process, right, like, the technology's been out for a couple of years, but even with that, like I said, it's bound to happen, right? Just the way of the world right now makes it to where technology is just going to get exposed. I'm not say exposed. It's going to get going to be more vulnerable, and it's going to become less secure. I guess is going for. But yeah, Apple's got to take it on the chin this time, right? And I can't even say Apple is taking it on the chin, right? Like, it's not like Apple is doing it themselves. They're accepting this from people for their devices, right? So I don't want to sit here and be like, Apple, you doing wrong, but like, what is their oversight in all of this as well, right? So like, if somebody wants to put an app on there, I imagine Apple isn't just like, yeah, we imagine you did everything right. You know what I'm saying? Bless you, Ryan. We imagine.
Thank you.
We imagine that their team, should have oversight as well. They're not just letting somebody just come on and put whatever on their store. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a little disheartening, man. Especially when the number is so high. It was like 1,800 or something like that, wasn't it, LeVon? Something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, 1,857, I think it was, or 59.
59. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, I mean, that's the world we live in, man. I mean, like I said, Apple, iOS, you taking it on the chin this week, but we'll see. Look, everybody. I said Ryan was fair, but we'll see what comes back next week. If we got
right,
if next week we're doing all
three Android.
Like, oh man, okay, all right. I gave him his props too early. You know what I mean? Yeah. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Oh, so I would say two things, right? From my perspective. So one, the use of shrink wrap code is very is normal, right? Like, so when it comes to the software development lifecycle, if you want to push out a bunch of stuff really quickly, you will use prepackaged stuff. That's just the way it is. But again, like you mentioned, so did LeVon, like, security has to be baked in from the get-go. So had this already been vetted and QC before it started being used in thousands of applications, this probably would have never been a thing. So now someone out there potentially has the keys to the kingdom. Like, they have all this information and this ability to jump into different aspects of AWS and pull information out, or just cause something malicious, right? Like, to push out a patch that is not, something that's copacetic, like, it's just something that makes the vulnerability worse. So I would be surprised if a lot of these haven't already been patched. However, for those unpatched systems, they're extremely vulnerable right now. So whatever iOS update we're on now, I don't know, 15, 16, whatever, definitely pull your latest patches. If you use these type of apps, I know 16 of them were gambling apps, right? So like sport betting apps, stuff like that. You should always be careful in those situations. But the other 1,800, could have been something that's not as scrutinized, right? It could be on some kid's device that doesn't get updated on a regular basis. So now they're vulnerable, and so are everyone behind on the other side of the cloud, right? To pull information and cause malicious activity. So it is disheartening. But yeah, you cut corners, right? Like you got to make sure what you're using is vetted properly. But that's all I really have to say about that. But like Forrest Gump, right?
I say that all the
But
time.
yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Definitely check us out. Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesdays the discussion, and then Friday, like I said, is the weekly rundown where we talk about everything else. So hit up all of our websites to go by our name. You can hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. LinkedIn, Twitter, Clubhouse, and TikTok. And you, LeVon?
Yeah, you can hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.
Okay, take care.